On this week's episode of the RAG podcast, I was joined by Richard Harris and Ella Lamport. They are the co-founders of a recruitment business headquartered in London called Park Avenue. These guys specialise in the property sector, have been going for 3 years, and are currently at 12 staff, but soon to be 16 as they've just offered 4 new people that have agreed to start this month. These guys have a very interesting and unique story because they are boyfriend and girlfriend. They worked together previously. They both left in interesting circumstances and decided to start a recruitment business together because ultimately, if not, they were going to end up being competitors because they did the same job in the same market. Richard actually hired Ella before in the previous world. They were really, really honest about how they've grown the brand and their vision for what they're trying to do and how it's been both positive and it's been difficult and negative to manage their relationship. They kept it a secret for a long time from the staff and they all found out. And you know what? It's been a really refreshing story to hear that 2 people can have such a close bond inside and outside of work and learn how to manage each other and kind of know where to stop talking, leave business at the door. And they've built an amazingly good company. They've got a really strong contract book. They've got great people and some really exciting growth plans. So this one is for anyone who's either in the thick of launching a business or thinking of launching a business with a significant other. So without further ado, Richard, Ella, welcome to the RAG podcast.
Thank you.
It's good to have you in.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
You walked in and you felt like you knew the place.
Yeah, I was saying to you as we got here, because I've listened to a few of your shows, I was a bit kind of feel like I've been here before. Yeah. Ella said, "Oh look, there's a gym." I was like, "Yeah, he's got a gym."
You knew that. Yeah. Sean talks a lot. Well, look, lovely to have you guys in. This is the first show in this room where I've had 2 guests, so I'm excited about that. I've already done an intro, but Ella, could you just do us a favour and give us an intro of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So Richard and I are the co-founders of Park Avenue Recruitment. We started the company 3 years ago now. We specialise in the property sector, so across surveying, town planning, housing, contract and permanent. We're a team of 12 now, but we're growing. We should be 16, fingers crossed, by the end of the week. Touch wood.
4 new people.
Yeah. We're going big. So it's going to be a busy month for us.
Yeah, we've just put out the offers for the last 2 who've all accepted. So we're pretty excited about the next. So
16 people. In your have you maxed out your office or have you got space?
No, we're in a WeWork at the moment, so we're moving upstairs into an even bigger office space. So.
Yeah, it was a bit mad this morning. We were in the office, we sort of snuck in so that they couldn't tell us off, and we were like trying to rearrange the desks to work out how it's all going to fit. But no, we're moving into a 24-man office, so we should be.
Oh wow,
we should be good.
Right, well, let's get on to that. All right, let's get on to that. Let's go back. Let's talk about how this all came about. So, look, first thing I want to say is you guys are not only business partners, but you are boyfriend and girlfriend, right?
Yeah,
in a relationship.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting dynamic. I've interviewed one lady earlier in the series, Ellen, who was she started her agency with her fiance. So I don't know many other people that have done this. So it'd be interesting to find out how did it all happen. How did it happen? Not only how did you guys get together, but how did you go from being boyfriend and girlfriend to suddenly then being business owners? Because that's not your everyday story.
Well, so I started recruiting and worked for the same business for 8 years.
Right.
Towards the last couple of years, I was managing quite a large team, and Ella came through the door looking for a job in recruitment. So effectively, the first time we met was when I sat in front of her with a CV and was trying to, going through that usual, like, why do you want to get into recruitment?
Was it love at first sight?
No.
No, it's weird actually.
No.
Because I think when you're interviewing someone, you're not thinking about things like that, are you?
You shouldn't be anyway. You shouldn't be.
But it was funny because, we're from a similar area. We found out that her dad drinks in, pubs that I used to drink in.
Whereabouts
and stuff. So.
I'm from Whipsnade, a tiny village called Whipsnade in Bedfordshire, and Rich is from Harpenden.
Yeah. Whipsnade's famous for a zoo.
Right.
Yeah.
That's about it. And
so
I'm from Harpenden.
How far are they apart? Like
15 minutes.
Oh, right. So
drive.
really close.
Yeah, really close. Really close. So we got on straight away. And, obviously subsequently hired her. She worked on my team. And then as I kind of got promoted into like a slightly higher up role, and we weren't directly managing or reporting into each other anymore, it kind of became quite obvious there were other feelings there, and it kind of just progressed from there, really, didn't it?
Yeah, so we were together for a year before we started up Park Avenue, sort of, trying to keep it on the down low from the rest of the office at the time in the company that we worked at. And after that, we decided to set up Park Avenue.
So you're working together, you're dating, but how do you keep that quiet? Like, what's the tactic to do that? But I'm sure there's people out there thinking, I wouldn't be able to do that.
It was hard, but because we were working with each other for a year before we got together, and we didn't really want anything to change in the office, we're both naturally sort of keep our problems at the door, don't really bring dramas into the office sort of people anyway. So it was sort of a case of, if we went out of the weekend, we'd go where we knew other people didn't live that were in the office. And
because that's tough in London. Did you ever get caught out?
We actually were sitting in a pub once in Herne Hill, and we literally sat down and we were having a Sunday lunch, and I sort of glanced across and there was another like secret couple within the office having lunch, and they one of them just like darted out because obviously it was like a massive drama.
So no one knew about them either?
No.
Oh, wow. Well, that's probably the best people that could have seen you, right?
Yeah. That was a funny one. And I think we kind of made the decision to sort of leave it at the door, and we, in fairness, we were quite both headstrong in that respect, weren't we? So it worked. It was,
So you were together for a year, and then what happened? How did it all come about? How did you start?
Well, unfortunately, I kind of came into work one morning and I was handed a redundancy notice.
Okay.
So that was kind of the reason for my departure. And I think up to that point, I'd kind of been thinking, when you've been doing that job for a while, you're constantly wondering what next potentially. So I think it was in a way, it was a huge blessing in disguise. And at that point, I was sort of had the choice between, well, do I go work for another business? And I was sort of, that was kind of my mindset. But my dad sort of went, look, you should try it out on your own, see how you get on. So I'd kind of made that decision. I was like 90% there, and then I guess from Ella's side of things, she departed as well. And
so did you leave because Richard left?
I think towards the end it was a bit of an awkward situation, obviously, because Rich had been made redundant. I didn't particularly want to be there anymore. So while I was doing well for my career there, things kind of went downhill with the relationship, and I ended up getting fired. So that was a bit of a shock to me, because I'm a bit of an overachiever with things, and I was like, ooh,
First
oh my
time
gosh.
you've ever had something like that?
First time I've ever been like fired, or not sort of, things haven't gone the way I wanted in some way. So it was a bit of a shock, but it was.
Was that due to the fact you were together, do you think?
It's hard. Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, I don't know. It's
hard to speculate, but
yeah.
I imagine if they had any inkling you're going to do something and you're in their office, it's probably a bit of a worry, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I don't think they weren't particularly pleased with the relationship, and I was top biller at the time, so I don't know. That's the yeah.
Well, you'd put two and two together, wouldn't you, and be like, well, if he's setting up and she's at here, there's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So I can see where they're coming from, but the big shock. So then, but you weren't actually planning that at the time.
No.
You know what? That's what's so funny. Like, we actually had a conversation about, what, you're earning really good money there. You should stay because, it's going really well.
Yeah.
And that would have probably been it, to be honest. But yeah, you rang me, didn't you? I've just been fired.
So when was it? When was this?
It was September
2016.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember that time really well. That was when we were ramping up the Hoxo plan.
Really?
Yeah, but at that point it was we were still launching a recruitment brand. So I remember it was between June and August 2016 when me and Amma were looking at our contracts and going, fucking hell, these are tight.
Yeah.
We can't do anything here. And that was when he was like, fuck it, we'll just build a whole new client base, it'll be fine. And I was going, maybe we could do something different. Like maybe we could build video content or do something that gets us out there. But I remember, I think recruitment was very different then. Back in 2016, I feel like it was very different. Like the LinkedIn was not used for what it's used for now.
Yeah, it's definitely changed.
It was just jobs, and it was just like, headhunting people, bit of market news that used to bore the shit out of me, and I just pretend I was reading it. But now it's like a full-blown Facebook on steroids, I think.
It's crazy. The use of video as well has just gone through the
nuts.
roof. I'm not a massive LinkedIn user, partly because I just find myself scrolling through the home screen and just sort of being like, I'm not actually getting.
You can lose
out.
a lot of time.
You can do. So I think I use it to sort of connect with people and then map and move from there.
We've recently implemented, going off the piece, but we do that.
Fine.
Sure. We've recently implemented a structure internally for our sales lot that between 9:15 and 11 a.m., which is probably prime selling time for a lot of agencies, a lot of businesses, we do what we call social selling. So it's content production, it's direct messaging, it's sending out videos, it's everything on LinkedIn, reading, upskilling yourself. And then from 11 o'clock onwards, it's kind of get off LinkedIn and use it if you need it. But I think having that core time in the morning when we're sharing coffees and we're chatting, it kind of flows well. And that, I think it's really important to use it correctly, but not get lost for hours and hours because it's become a black hole, I think.
Yeah, it's very easy to go on LinkedIn and find somebody and send them a message. Like every recruiter in the country, every recruiter in London's doing that. So it's really about differentiating yourself and getting in touch in a different way, or potentially a more old school way.
Like cold calling.
Yeah. Cold. Yeah. Well, a message on LinkedIn, but try and get off LinkedIn as soon as you can because,
Yeah, I think especially certain markets are so competitive. It's just insane. So let's go back. So September comes, you get fired, whether or not you liked it or not. That's what I mean. Whoops. So you're in a position now where you're like, what do I do? So paint the picture. How did you decide it was going to be a joint venture?
Well, I think at that point I was pretty set on going out on my own. Yeah. But I think that the prospect of doing it on my own was frankly terrifying.
Yeah, I imagine that.
That and I think when Ella rang and said what had happened, I think quite quickly I said, well, we could do it together. And I think we both had offers to go to other places. Like, I think I got rang about 2 days after I got made redundant. Yeah. Some word had got round, and Ella was speaking to a couple of businesses as well, and there was definitely an opportunity for us to effectively we would have ended up competing against each other in likely a similar market space, which we just thought would be a bit bonkers really to be working against each other, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it was a case of, it was like kind of weighing up the risks because obviously it is a massive thing to go into business with somebody that you've been dating for a year essentially in a very different environment. We didn't live together yet, which actually was a blessing in disguise, to be honest. And we were serious in our relationship, but we were a year in, we weren't like crazy serious. So it was sort of, a case of,
did you have to sit down and talk about it and say almost like you do a shareholders agreement, but you kind of had like a double shareholder? It's more like a proper agreement where you're like, if this happens, you do that. Did you work that stuff out?
Well, I think it was always from the beginning, we were always going to be 50-50 because then that way one person isn't more invested in it than the other person.
Yeah.
And it was a case of, we did have to sit down and be like, if we break up, if that happens, but ultimately we knew it was the right thing to do for our personal careers and income, regardless of whether we were doing it as a couple or doing it as business partners.
So how long did it take to make that decision?
Gosh, it's hard. A week?
Yeah,
maybe. Like when at the time I was on gardening leave, a week is like forever, isn't it? Because you're just so bored. Got into Game of Thrones at the time. That was all I could do.
What did other people think? Because you must have told your friends and family. What did they think?
My dad was kind of like, interesting choice. Are you sure? Like, what if this happens? But I think he only did what any parent would do. Yeah. And my mates were a bit like, oh, okay, interesting. But I think they were all thinking, oh, crikey, what if something goes wrong?
Yeah.
But
it is a really unique dynamic because I think being a business partner with someone is really difficult anyway. Like that's a proper relationship. Like you've got to really work at it. Like, and then being in a relationship with your spouse is also they're equally really committed, difficult jobs. So I commend you both for doing it so far. But so what went on? You made the decision. How did you come up with the name Park Avenue?
Well. So I was sitting at home, and as you do, you sort of get out a scrapbook of paper and you just start writing names, and came up with all these random ideas and
like Hoxo.
I've heard the story. It's a good one.
It's a random one, but
there was loads of stuff. The building I'd moved into I had a mortgage on a flat, still live in it, and that building was called Park Heights.
Yeah.
So I kind of wrote that down, and then I was like, I grew up and spent my entire childhood at pretty much one house on a road called Park Avenue, and it kind of fell onto that. And the minute I wrote it, I was just like, I've got it.
Yeah.
That's it. Did
you like it?
Yeah, and we recruit into property markets as well. So
it kind of fits, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does fit to have something that's sort of to do with a road, to do with property in that sense. And it's quite ambiguous, but it's classic. And we just kind of thought it's never.
Is it Park Avenue Recruitment? Or
yeah.
I
think there were quite a few Park Avenue businesses out there. Like no Park Avenue Recruitment.
That's great. I would have thought. I would have thought there might have been one.
No, and URLs were there.
Yeah.
My dad loved it. Obviously the whole family were amazing.
Sentiment.
So they were about to move out of that house and into another house. So I think it was quite a nice sort of like, we're going to kind of keep that road. Getting tingles thinking about it actually. So it just fit, didn't it? It just worked. So
I grew up on a road called Councillor Lane, and the house was 105, and literally if you go to like any of my family and like you there's our code. I'm telling you a lot here. Our code on our alarm in the house was 2025.
Yeah.
And like if I ask my mum anything, it's either 105 or 2025. Like everything goes back to those two numbers.
Yeah.
Then go to my brothers. I'm like, what have you got? 2025. Yeah, of course. I'm like, it's just like shit. Anyone can crack my family's codes now.
Oh no, thanks for your PIN number.
That's all right. It's not mine. It's not mine.
You can borrow your bank card later.
Can you change that while I'm talking? But no, I love that. So what went on in that period then? Because you said you had a 3-month garden leave, right? So it was about December, January you could start.
Yeah, I think December was the time I could have started. Ella's notice period was like a month, so we could have gone earlier. I mean, my mum was very ill; she was terminally ill, so I moved. I basically spent my weekdays caring for her and mapping the market, like on my laptop, and we did that together, didn't we? And that period was actually a blessing in disguise because I could kind of like look after her. And then it was fairly obvious that. Why would we start in December? We were just like, let's get Christmas out of the way.
Yeah.
Come January, we'll just get everything ready, website, a few job boards and database.
So what did you do? This is probably the most asked question I get. Yeah. What are the absolute fundamentals you need to have before you trade as a recruitment business?
I think the first things we did were obviously the database. We got our database, our CRM up and running.
We had training in Essex, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like Ella's got photo. We use Profile Microdeck.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, which is great. We like that. And it was like we were starting from scratch. Like we had nothing. We had none of our old candidates, none of our old clients on the system that we'd just been used to having at our last company. It was just a lot of research, like reaching out to people, trying to find out names, numbers. It takes months. And in the background, our website designers who actually work in this building, I think.
Funnily enough.
They were sorting that out in the background for us. It was like $2,000. That was a lot of money for us, obviously.
Yeah, it is at the beginning.
Yeah, starting out. But we were getting that done, approving logos, getting our brand sorted. That's the first 2 months.
Funny, really, like the memories of like Karen came to my dad's house and we sat in like one of the rooms, like looking at different logos and different brand designs, and we saw the one we've got now. We were just like, it's like clean, it's quite obvious, but there were some interesting colours. Very interesting. Yeah.
So you get your logo, you get your design, you get your website. Did you have to write the content on your website?
I did, yeah. And to be honest with you, I probably haven't changed it since. So probably need to.
Ella does the words in the business. She's very good at sort of writing, articulating, anything like that. So she just did all of that. You knocked it out pretty quick.
Yeah, and I enjoy doing that sort of thing. If I hadn't worked in recruitment, I would have gone down that path anyway. So anything like writing, that's fine for me. And that was pretty straightforward. It was. We
find that question though is when we talk to clients, it's like there's a lot of website developers out there, lots of great companies that do recruitment websites, but getting the content on it is normally just left to the recruiter. And you've got a skill, but most people don't, and they're like, oh shit, and they can spend weeks trying to, and it doesn't turn out great. So if
I'd wrote it, we would have been screwed. It would have been terrible.
No one look at it now because it's not that good, but it's just like
everyone look at it. Everyone
we just needed we just needed to get something down. At the end of the day, we just kind of wanted to get ourselves across as best as we could. And
I think we tried to pitch ourselves over as like professional. We didn't try and hide that we were basically two of us. Really, we just sort of put the directors at the bottom, wrote a quick bio, kept the website. It was about 8 pages, wasn't it, at the time? It was really clean, some simple images of like London and a few of like Whipsnade and where we're from, just thrown in. And we just tried to keep it quiet. We didn't try and sort of make anything that we're not. 'Cause we knew we had, with any luck, the reputation in the market to get going once we launched.
What else did you need to do? So you obviously set the company up. Did you guys get like invoice factoring or any finance facilities?
Originally we went with a factoring company that sort of basically they pay you like 90% of your invoice value and charge you a weekly fee, like a percentage of the total value. And to be fair, they were great, weren't they? That first year we used them, we're coming into the market with no business. All we can do is give them a business plan and tell them that we'll make money. We met the guy in Victoria Station, didn't we? He was really late and he'd like ran from the train. So he was like really sweaty. I remember he's a really nice guy and he gave us a good deal and that got us through the first year.
Why did you change?
Well, we changed because we thought it was a really good product and it actually was great and their customer services were excellent, but we got called by like Sonovate, got in touch with us, and their sort of the way they did it, they basically undercut what we were paying already. They gave us a their actual sort of software piece and contract management piece on the website at the time was excellent because I was doing a lot of work just filling out the contracts for all of our contractors. It took ages, whereas this you can just put everything in. It does it for you. And at the time I was like, this will save me so much time. Plus it was great because they pay you 100% of your margin into your bank every Friday. And at the time we were like, this will make a huge difference to us, like having a bit of the cash flow just being a bit better. So yeah, we went with that.
And you're still using them now?
Not anymore, no. We basically did our like 2 years with them, and then more recently we Ella actually sort of met someone at one of the TRN events because we're members there, and now we have an ID facility with a bank, and we're doing it all in house now. We've rolled that out in the last couple of months, but that has been a huge project. I've been that huge.
I always wonder what the benefits of that. I think a lot of the outsourced solutions are great early days, and then they're
fantastic.
Once you get, they help you survive.
They really do.
Then you can pick and choose what you want to take in house.
Yeah.
Why? So you got your finance function outsourced. You got your website done. You got your CRMs in place. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you needed to do at the beginning?
Phones, which we just did a VoIP type. You set that up, didn't you?
Yeah, my dad always worked in business telephone systems, so phones, like stuff like that, was pretty easy.
Should we refer people to your dad?
Sorted, yeah. No.
What's his company?
Yeah, he's retired now.
Oh shit! It's going to get him loads of leads.
Yeah, he did a really good job.
Yeah.
So did you actually get phones, like proper phones, or did you just divert to your mobile?
Yeah, there was an app that you got us on, and we plugged it into our laptops, wherever we were, we'd had an 0203 number, London number. It was pretty simple, really. Well, you did it all. It was amazing.
Are you still on that now, on mobile, or you got like actual headset phones on?
The good thing about it was when we started, we had nothing. We literally had our old laptops. We didn't buy new laptops. We didn't have the money to. We had our app on our laptops we used as phones. As we've grown, we've managed to buy the handsets, obviously, and the same system connects up to those. So it's actually been pretty good. We've not had to change it. We can just add more people to it and buy the hardware for it.
We ran out of numbers, didn't we?
Yeah.
When we started, we could have bought like 30 numbers, and we were like, we're never going to need that many. And we bought like 8. And recently now we've run out, and we're like, oh no, like the direct lines for a few of our stuff are quite different to what they should have been. It's like, oh, we should have dreamt bigger, I suppose. But
all right, that's a good question then. Again, what was the plan at the beginning? Because I look at what we were like at Hoxo, and it's so different to what we probably thought at the beginning. And a lot of people have come on the show and said it's all about having a business plan and having a really rigid plan at the beginning. Personally, I was not that person, and whether it benefited me or not, well, time will tell. But I've got that in place now. But at the beginning, it was just about making money, going out, selling an idea, and generating cash flow. So, what was the vision for you two back then?
Keep feeding ourselves.
Yeah, to a certain degree. I think the first year we just thought. I mean, I had an idea of how big I thought we could get within maybe 3 or 4 years because I kind of done that to a certain degree at where we were previously, and I could see where we'd hire, what we'd do. So I was kind of thinking, maybe in like 3 to 5 years, if we've got like 8 to 10 staff, that'd be pretty good. I can see that.
Yeah.
But the first year, I'm not really a really sort of like blue sky, synergy or that kind of thinker. I'm more of a like practical person. So I kind of thought, right, year one, let's just get as many temps out as we can, get some sort of money on the board, and, because it's only us two, we'll probably be making a decent amount of money, and then we'll kind of reassess where we're after that.
Yeah. So was it contract market you went for straight away?
Yeah, contract market.
Straight in.
And I think the first thing, it got to the point where I was getting cabin fever just being at home. My first big aim was, I just want to get out of this kitchen. I just need an office.
So where were you based?
My kitchen.
Your kitchen?
Yeah.
And where were you living at the time?
Streatham.
That's not far from Brixton.
Yeah, so it's all right. But I used to just walk down the hill every morning, get into Richard's flat, be
Morning,
like, right,
Rich.
morning, let's do it.
Yeah, literally. I think I remember sending a story on my Instagram, commute to work, and it was me rolling out of bed, walking about here to where JJ's standing into the kitchen.
I remember the beginning. It's the same sort of thing. We got a Regis business lounge of £100 each.
Yeah.
Me and Emma, and we were like, it was good because one of our old Venquist, the guy who was on the podcast, Malvin, he was in there, and he's still in there actually. More London on Tower Bridge, on the London Bridge side, and we just wanted to have a place to go. Because I was like, I couldn't see myself. We were so distant as well. I lived in Romford. No, I was in Crystal Palace, but moving to Romford. He was in Blackheath. Well, let's go and meet in the middle. And it was wicked. But we quickly grew. So because we realised very fast that we weren't the marketeers, right? So we had to build that team. So JJ joined us within 4 weeks. And then we had about 6-7 people. So we had 2 passes in this fucking hot lounge, £100 each.
My God.
And we had 8 people a day coming in. No one checked us. No one said anything. It was wicked. Do you remember, Jay? We just crammed it in, and Marvin was like, "What the fuck are you doing? You took over the whole space." But I really welcomed that. But I've heard a lot of people, like Ella, who was on from Elamed a couple of weeks ago. She said she got quite depressed in year 1 because she was at home on her own.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
It was really tough. I think back now, I'm like, oh my
How
God,
did you
I can't
break?
believe
You
we did it.
literally you sat opposite each other in the kitchen, just
Literally
emailing, phone, just doing.
Yeah.
normal
Yeah, and it's hard. I think you underestimate when you're sitting on your own in your kitchen. There's no background noise. We know each other. We were dating, but you're getting on the phone to speak to people in complete silence. It's quite nerve-wracking, especially when you've had a few months off of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the other thing. It was getting back, just getting the cogs turning. We used to, occasionally I'd go sit on my bed on my laptop and just be like, right, I'm going to shut the door and I'm not going to come out until I've spoken to X amount of people. And we did that quite a lot, which gets the cogs turning.
Yeah. So how did did you have restrictive covenant periods? You couldn't talk to all customers.
Well, I'd been made redundant, so I knew I was. You can't come off if you're going to make someone redundant. You can't really say.
You can't restrict. What
Yeah,
you do,
so I was fine, and Ella did, and we. To be honest, we just thought, right, let's not risk it.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
But
only
how was
3 months.
was the first 6 months at going out and winning business? Was it relatively straightforward?
I think it was peaks and troughs, really, to be honest with you, because it was quite easy to get in with a few of our older candidates, but it is difficult to get a lot of our clients at councils to get them to take you seriously, to sort of get back in with them. So yeah, I mean, there were lots of people who were lovely and really wanted to support us and really liked the fact that we were a startup, liked the fact that it was just us two, and they're still with us now because they're great. But
we definitely tried to play on that in the first sort of 6 to 12 months, and I think it really worked. But it was tough. We had a few that we rang up, and even though we'd done so much business with them, because now we weren't sort of on their preferred list, it was a no, and you'd be thinking, oh, come on, there's a reason why we're you know.
Yeah.
But
we're good at what we do.
Yeah. But we just moved on, didn't we? We just kept going. We had the whole UK to go after.
Yeah.
We didn't really care, did we?
We were lucky as well. So obviously IR35 is quite topical at the moment.
But it hit the public sector
a lot of agencies.
a long time ago.
It hit the public sector in the April that we'd started up in the January. So we did a lot of research on it. We got a lot of professional advice on it. So we were able to ring candidates up who we worked with before and actually give them proper advice on it. Whereas a lot of companies didn't properly train their consultants to tell people what was going on. They just thought if we ignore it, it'll go away. So I think we got a little bit of respect there.
How did you get around it though? What's the difference? Again, I'm sure people listening in the private sector now would love to benefit a little bit from what I left around the same time you guys did, right? So I finished in January 17, the same month. And I remember it had hit the April before, wasn't it? Was it April before?
No, it was around then.
Was it then?
Yeah.
I just remember we had a public sector team and we were losing contractors and it was like this. But because we were private, we weren't as interested.
Yeah.
What did you do to get around it?
Oh, I think the the key thing we thought was there's an opportunity in everything, and the best thing for us is we can't lose any contractors. We didn't have any. We were kind of like, there's going to be
there's only one way of going up, right?
And there's going to be so many contractors out there that if we rung them up, normally they'd be like, bugger off, I've never heard of you. Whereas if we rung them up and our pitch was, look, we understand IR35, this is how we can help you, they would listen. So it really opened quite a lot of doors for us. And then straight away we were able to sort of just make things happen a bit around it.
But you have to like put in a provision so that they go via like an umbrella company or something?
Yeah. So it sort of, it depends on the contract. I mean, the end client is meant to properly assess each person that comes through their door, and what we found was happening was a lot of clients were blanket assessing people and saying everyone's inside IR35 where they shouldn't actually be doing that. But it's a case of sort of, if you want to be outside IR35, the client's got to be on board with it, and also you've just got to structure the contract in certain ways to make it legitimately.
Yeah, and the other key thing is you can structure the contract, but you actually have to make sure that they are working to those parts of the contract. But I mean, we would basically just give the best consultative advice we could, and for a client that is paying someone a certain amount of money, and then all of a sudden, you know, the contractor's now receiving less effectively if they're having to pay more tax on it. So if you can look at each contract individually and actually say to your client, well, we believe this is outside because, you know, they don't have their own phone, they're bringing their laptop in, you know, they're only in a couple of days a week, and, you know, they're not covering a permanent member of staff or whatever. If you actually reduce your rate, we can save you money here because the take-home pay will be better. And we tried to just be clever about it. And the key thing to remember about IR35 is it's actually been around since the year 2000. It's a piece of legislation that's always been enforced. It's just been very difficult for the HMRC to enforce it. So there are actually quite a few people that have got away with it for quite a long time.
100%.
And they have to, you know, the ones that effectively were having to be told to go through umbrella, because, you know, they literally they left their job last week and they've gone back as a contractor of the week. Like, you just have to say, look, there's no way around it. You're just going to have to live with it. The rates eventually picked up again after a year or so. And I think the same thing will happen in the private sector.
I think there was that one bit where it was like, you know, if you go in as Sean Anderson Consulting and you're ill and you have to have someone replace you on that day, it's like, that's just not the case. Like, clients are hiring you. They're not hiring the consulting firm. Like,
there's ways around it. I think I've spoken to a few through TRN. I've spoken to a few other business owners that have rang me to ask me and my advice, and I just said, I think the best advice I can give you is just read up on it and really just do your best to educate your clients and your candidates about it, because everyone's going to go through a mad panic like we had, but it will settle down. And umbrella companies, like, get a few good umbrella companies that are, you know, well read up on these things, on board, and work with them. Like, we work with some excellent ones, and they've been invaluable over the last few years. Like,
I bet.
Like, huge.
So how did that year progress then? So if we go fast forward to the end of year one, December 2017, what did it look like?
You should tell the office story. Basically, I went on holiday and Ella rang me, and you were just like, I'm not working in your kitchen anymore. I've had enough. Like, we are getting an office.
Was it the end of the
next
year?
week? No, it's middle of the year.
Middle of the year, yeah.
So I'll let you take that one because it's funnier.
So we ended up sort of like throughout the year in July. I think it was June, July. I was like, I've had enough. I can't do this anymore. So we got a desk in a shared office space, like a normal sized desk. Both of us on this one desk. We were the only recruiters on the floor. There were literally like accounting companies who were sitting there in dead silence. So I remember a candidate was messing around once, and Richard was having a stern word with them about it. And, you know, everyone in the room's kind of like looking at you because you're the loudest ones in there.
That was fun. Honestly, it's half the size of the table we're sitting at the moment, and we sat next to each other with our laptops. But and that was into the summer, but just to get out the office and have a commute.
Where was that, in the city or?
No, Gray's Inn Road.
Oh, that's Holborn.
Yeah.
But you've still got to pay the travel then, haven't you? So you got the tube costs, which it's not that bad, but it's one of them things at the beginning. That's a lot of the reason a lot of people don't do it.
Everything just seems so much more expensive when you just don't know when you're going to be able to pay yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, I should look at like the old sort of when we actually did pay ourselves, but we went for a while without paying ourselves a huge amount of money. At all, really.
Yeah, we lived off like savings that I'd saved from my commission in my last job for a long time. But yeah, we got through. We stayed there for a few months. We obviously just like brought in lunch every day. We had tuna and rice for like a year for lunch and dinner, pretty much.
Yeah, we did. Because I think because we got used to that style of living, we were kind of like, well, now we've got money in the bank. Do we really want to? We don't. You suddenly adjust, don't you? You adjust quite quickly, I think. And at that point, we hadn't eaten out much. We used to eat out all the time.
Yeah,
you get used to it. So it was tuna and rice and all that kind of stuff.
I had a similar. My wife was at the time she was working in recruitment, and she met me at my like top biller status. So I was like earning 200k and flying around. Took her to Dubai for her birthday, and I was just like, I never bought like loads of things. I saved for a house, and I knew I was going to launch a business, so I was putting money away. But I didn't care either. If we went for dinner, I'd pay. And then I feel like she just gradually saw me decline. And then when we started it, I was like, it was really difficult, but I'd saved quite a bit. So I found myself still spending, not at the same level, but more than I probably should have. And I remember having to check myself after about 3 months, like, you need to stop this because there's nothing coming in yet. Like I didn't pay myself for 9 months, I don't think, 1 penny. And it's like, you start to get to a point where you're like, fuck. We were making money, but we were hiring people, so we were like just putting it straight in.
It's kind of the same with us, really.
I mean, I have a massive treat yourself mentality, so it's really difficult for me. And I'd like, actually, the day after I'd got fired, I went on holiday, and I had to prepay for the hotel, and then I lost my suitcase, and I had to replace everything in my suitcase because it wasn't insured.
I remember that.
And even like going to Tost at lunch when we moved into our office, I was kind of like, £6 on a salad.
It was a huge treat, wasn't it, for us? Yeah. There was a co-op across the road, so we
co-op, chicken and rice, tuna and rice.
It's an unbelievable cafe, but it's such a grotty office, but underneath is like this proper greasy spoon cafe, and we used to go down there quite a bit when we had a bit more money. That was good.
Yeah, but
still go there now. Yeah.
When did you start hiring people then?
We started looking. We made the decision to hire in October. We basically had like a really good month in like September, October. We put in quite a lot of contractors in that 1 month, and it was like, oh my gosh, like when they all start, you look at your projections and when your contract.
What's the sort of contract length you're talking? Like 12 months, 6 months?
3 to 6 usually.
3 to 6, but they get extended quite a bit. So we straight away were just like, right, okay, we've got some decent money coming in. We can look at hiring. So we went, got in touch with a rec to rec we used to use. Got a slightly cheaper rates because we knew him, and we went and did like an assessment day in mid-October. Like Ella's always got a camera. She's one of these people that takes photos, so we've got it all. Like there's loads of photos now on our wall in the office of like the early days, and one of them is like me sitting in their assessment centre.
Did you hire any of them people?
Yeah, we did. We hired Jack, who was our first employee, and it was hard for us because we were like, who's going to want to work for a couple in a manky office, just one person sitting with a couple?
Did you tell him as well? Like,
no. So we didn't tell him.
We kind of.
No, we did. He didn't know.
We didn't tell him we were together.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we didn't tell him that.
No.
But we told them that they were going to be the first hire, and there was a big opportunity. But no, we didn't. We never told anyone that we were a couple.
We went to.
Hope they know now, and they've not just found out listening.
Well, we went to Bruges for the weekend, and we just kind of said to him, "Oh, Jack, by the way, we're Rich and I are both leaving the office today at this time." And he was clueless, bless him.
Yeah, he was.
We have an extremely important business trip.
Yeah.
Very important.
Is he still with you now?
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
he's
well,
great.
That's a good story.
I think we honestly couldn't have hoped for like a better first hire. Like he was just so keen, so eager, like. Great. He was just brilliant.
That's what mine's been a nightmare. He's just over there.
Is he just there?
Look at him, giggling behind the camera. No, I love that. Was he never done recruitment either?
No.
So you had to train someone up.
You had to train him up.
So how did that impact your billings? Did it take? Because a lot of people ask me that as well. Like, if I hire someone, have I got to put a contingency plan in because I'll stop billing as much, and then everything drops?
No, not really. I mean, we at this point we were working our market, but I knew how much scope there was to hire 2, 3, 4 people on just that section we were doing. So straight away, just having another person on the phone reaching out to people, like they effectively resourceful you for the first couple of months because they don't really know what they're doing.
Exactly.
we if anything, our billings went up. And I still am a firm believer of like if you got 1 or 2 people on a desk, you put a third person in, that more people just reaching out to more, it just gets your name out there even more. It's huge. So
it creates a different buzz as well.
Massively.
Yeah.
You know,
the whole three's a crowd, I don't think exists in recruitment.
Yeah.
But
people worry so much about another person on the team, they're going to nick my business. Like, I've never really seen it happen as long as you just continue to work as a unit and as a team.
Did you split? Have you got like a vertical model where you recruit that type of person and we recruit
pretty much?
So everyone's got their own little specialism within an organisation.
Yeah, everyone's got a regional and sort of job type specialism. We think that works best.
Gives you that clean. You can clearly scale it that way.
Yeah, and I mean the markets we're in, you know, every market is very incestuous and cliquey anyway. So if you're sort of immersed in that market and you're speaking to contractors who just every 6 months are looking anyway, it just works so much better for us, doesn't it? And
So by the end of the year, was it just Jack or did you hire again?
Alex, who worked at us.
Sean first.
Oh, was it? Oh yeah, of
Sean
course
first.
it was. Yeah, it was
so
Sean.
we interviewed Sean in January and hired him like mid-Jan.
So just at the end of the first, first year anniversary,
pretty much
getting 4 people. What did you bill in year 1? Do you remember? What did you actually invoice?
God. Year 1's weird for us because when you register a company, you get 18 months.
Yeah.
So that first full 18 months, I think we did like £250,000.
Yeah.
GP,
Solid though, isn't it?
but that's for 18 months. But obviously those first 6 we didn't bring anything in.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
contracts as well is always, it's harder to see the revenue, but then it becomes very consistent, right?
I mean, if you look at it, it's actually like 0, 0, $2,500.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it just starts to really kick up. And by the end of our first financial year, which was March 2018. So at that point we'd hired Sean and we'd also got Alex on board, who's someone that used to work with us.
Got fired the same day as me.
Got fired the same day as you. So
what did he do in that gap?
He went to work for another company in the same, like, similar area, but yeah, it was good to get him on board.
Yeah.
Really good.
He knew him and he had experience.
Yeah,
he made a big difference.
We knew it'd be great. He knew the market and it was brilliant to have him there.
Yeah, and then at that point we were still in like we'd moved from the one desk into like a room in the corner.
Same place though.
Same place.
Yeah.
And we'd got like 2 tables opposite each other and one on the end. And we were like crammed in there, weren't we?
It was leaking. Every morning you come in during the winter and like all your paper and like your keyboard would be wet. Well, mine would because I sat next to the window and it was just rubbish.
Whoever was first in the morning had to turn the heater on to warm the room up.
Well, we were the same. JJ will remember our first office was December 4th we moved in. We started on March the 4th or whatever. So it was about, what is that, 7, 8 months, 9 months? I can't even do the maths. But we got this big space in East London, in Bow. So it was like 2 floors. I think it was like 750 square feet, like really bigger than what we've got now.
Yeah.
But in this absolute old mill type, like freezing cold. The heating didn't work. Told us it did. Didn't fucking work the whole time we were there. No floor. So it was just like looked like concrete, but it was actually really sticky and like had all this shit all over it. So you come in and my trainers were ruined within 10 minutes. And I was like, and we're miles, like 20-minute walk from the station. So it's like, it sounded great. It was really cheap, but we were like, this is hard
Our office. I mean, I look back to what we paid for that office and it's just like, there's some guys we know that are still in that office, like the one next door to us. They're the reason we went there in the first place, and they're still in there and they're still paying the same amount of money.
Makes sense early door. I mean, keep your costs down.
Yeah.
You can get through it.
Completely makes sense.
Yeah.
And if we didn't need to move and we didn't think, right, we could take this to sort of from 5 to 6 to 7, we probably would have hung about there because it was actually it was quite fun in its own weird way, wasn't it? It was cool.
You appreciate the next phase as well when you've been through that.
You do.
Yeah, it was an aspirational thing for us because we went to see a client in a WeWork and we just wanted to be in one because we loved the vibe, we loved how the buildings were. So it was a big step for us financially. But
because I love WeWork, and we've even thought about like, don't tell the building we're in now, but we've thought about it, kind of global footprint, having like the same offices, and you can just drop an office in any city in the world and it's exactly the same. Like you don't have to think about it. But as a really new business, WeWork's really expensive, isn't it? But like if you're a startup, brand new.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't have been able to afford it at the beginning.
But people do. They somehow find their ways, and I'm like, this must be a lot.
You do. I think it was a step up, but you know, once again, it's kind of like what do we want out of our business? What do we want to spend our money on? And we were just like, we both want this. We want a nice office. We want to move into WeWork or whatever it is, and they had a new one that was opening up. We went and saw it. We were like, right, there's room to maybe expand within the building, and we knew we were going to grow. So when you've got a company that kind of, we can, there's an 8-man over here and there's a 10-man if you need it over there. As you grow, it's just so much easier to have an office arrangement like that, where you don't have to think about moving every sort of couple of years and getting a new lease agreement, etc. So,
and how have you found it? Like, have WeWork been good?
All in all, great. Yeah,
good and bad. We looked at moving out and getting our own lease and doing things like that actually earlier in the year, but we're going to stay with them for a little bit longer because it's just less hassle and we can get on with what we should be doing.
I know one of our clients who recently invested in, I think spent about 100 grand on their office, and they got rent free for a while. So it's not, the money's not actually, but he still says like he wishes he'd just gone to WeWork now because it's like the amount of work. It's nice, but you still. Just it's mental capacity. You don't need to. You get it from both sides. People say, "Oh, you're in a WeWork. That's so expensive. Get your own one." And then, I mean, you went to see a client recently, and he said he'd just moved into the WeWork and he'd tried the lease thing. He was like, "Oh, we're back here. It's so much easier." And I think we were looking at the cost because we basically had the choice between staying in the WeWork and getting a bigger office or going basically a fag end lease. So it was like 2.5 years, and it was big space and there was a lot of potential, but we just wrote all the costs down and there was this big sort of like question mark on the extra cost of this lease. And to do it up as well. Do it up, dilapidations at the end, all that kind of thing. And we just said, you know what, if we just stick with this, we know what you can forecast. Exactly. We can just commit to it and go, and we can. So which one are you in again? Chancery Lane. Yeah, there's about 4 around there, but we're on the one on Chancery Lane. It's the Cursitor. It's got a little roof terrace. It's nice. We love it. Yeah. Awesome. So year 2, how did that progress? Much like year 1, really. Yeah. We just moved into the WeWork. We hired a couple more. Amy, didn't we? We got Amy. We made a few dud hires around then as well. Yeah, we had a couple that were like didn't quite work out for various reasons, and we've got a few stories there. Crikey, there's a few good ones. When did you let someone down? Like, when did you not? Because I think we've all made hires which are not the right people, but there's still an element that we've not given them the right amount of like time or training or whatever. Can you remember, or could you be honest about something you've done where you're like, you know what, we should have been better there?
I think, to be honest with you, maybe with some of the people we have in the first few months, we could have given them a bit more support, but they're still with us and we're lucky that they stuck it out with us. With anyone that we've let go, I think one of the hardest ones was someone who was lovely and we got on with really well, but it just wasn't the right career path for her. That was a tough one. Everyone else has been fairly easy because they've basically just been a bit of a dickhead. Yeah, they made it easy for us. Like we've had people going, people like not showing up for work, so being on all-night drug benders, people sending me topless selfies, like all sorts of things that we've had. And after, when you say that, it's easy to kind of that's the best one. That's a good one. But we've actually been very lucky. We're quite particular over who we take on, and we really try and give them the best start we can. So we're quite pleased with the fact we haven't had to sort of lose too many staff over anything. Yeah. So it sounds like you've been going pretty. Year 1 and 2, as you move into WeWork, it's pretty plain sailing. So what was the difference between year 1 and year 2? Because I personally have an opinion on why year 2 is harder than year 1. Yeah. What was your take? I think a multitude of things, really. It was great because we were moving from place to place, we were earning more money, we had a small team, everyone was getting on really well. Everyone was billing as well. Yeah. People were coming in and getting on the phone and getting things done. And I mean, this is like summer 2018. It's like the greatest summer of all time. Like the World Cup, everything. It was roasting as well. Yeah, it was amazing. The buzz in the office was brilliant. We had like 3 months of sun, didn't we? Yeah, it was brilliant. Like we went and watched the semi-final in Hyde Park. We took Jack and Amy. Like it was just every day was great, and people were loving it, and I think they still do. But the guys from that era still talk about, they were the good old days, you know, and it's like good old days. We're only going 18 months at the time. But we just kept going. And the thing about contract again is, you know, you're just chipping away and slowly growing your temp book. And we had targets like get to 60 contractors, we're going to go Thorpe Park, you know, get to 100, we're going to do this, get to 150. So we just constantly had something to go after, and we just kept going, just kept motoring. Yeah, I think the most difficult thing for us in the second year was our relationship personally, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we'd started the business together as a couple. We'd spent a lot of time together. We'd had basically a year, just us two on our own, not being able to afford and go out and see our friends. Just sort of ruminating in a room together, like, oh.
Yeah. And I think we, you know, just sort of trying to make plans outside of work sometimes when you've had a really long day, it was really tough. So yeah, we
because you weren't living together at this point.
No.
So which was actually probably a good thing because it gave us some time apart, but it was a hard thing because it was quite difficult to, as Rich said, arrange to see each other. You know, the issue is that if anything minor goes wrong, the only person you can discuss it with who is at the same level doing the same job as you is each other. So not only did we have our relationship to worry about, but anything that was going on in work that might have been stressful, we were stewing over together, talking about together, and it just kind of makes things all that more stressful sometimes when you're not in a great place.
I think that was definitely that. By the end of sort of 2018, like I think we'd hired some great people who are still with us. We were doing really well. We're still moving forward. You know, we'd gone from 6 to 8 to 9 at that stage. We briefly went over to another WeWork office because they didn't have the right size for us. So we'd kind of gone across the road basically. And then we went back to the building we're in now into a 12-man office at the time. And it was going pretty good. But I think, our relationship suffered that year for sure, didn't it? It was really difficult.
So what happened?
Sorry?
So what happened?
We had like a little break.
So it just sort of deteriorated throughout the year just because we were getting a bit neggy with each other. It was really hard. It wasn't really anyone's fault. It was just that we were working all the time. We weren't really getting out of our own heads. I think if you do start a business with, or you do work with your partner, it's really important to set boundaries about when you'll talk about things and when you're just going to leave it in the door and not talk about it. And I think that was one of the things that we definitely struggled with when we first started out because it was our passion and it was our business.
You're testing it as well. You got to test everything. Like you're testing how you can be together in that way.
Yeah. I think one thing I've realized, when I'm really quite stressed out, I can get very kind of neggy and much more critical than I should be. And I think personally, I think from March 2018, it was like just a year after my mum had passed away. It's just so much going on. It's so stressful. And I'm from a big family, so we're all suffering from that. And it just all got a bit too much. Something had to give. And unfortunately, at that point, it was our relationship for a bit, wasn't it?
So were you, how did that play out in work? How did you manage that? Did everyone know at the time you were together?
No,
people knew we were together at the time.
Yeah.
And then once again, we would just leave it at the door, which was hard, but we had to do it. And to be honest, it was the best thing we could have done.
So you acted normal all day?
Yeah, we broke up like one evening, came into the office the next day and just pretended it hadn't happened, and none of the staff found out for months.
Yeah.
I think it was about 6 months in total that we were broken up for, and we just were like,
how were you, like, were you still talking at night and at the weekends and like as friends, and or was it just keep to business? And
when it first happened, not as much. Then sort of over Christmas and stuff, like Christmas Eve, like Ella drove around with her mum, said hello, dropped a present off, it was fun. Everything was cool, like it was fine, like, but it was a challenge, but we were still mates. Like we were friends before. Like, it was cool.
You weren't doing it because someone had done something. It was because of a gradual chip away, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like we were, we're best friends. We were best friends then. That was the most difficult part of it, was losing our romantic relationship. But, we decided when we started the company that we wouldn't let anything get in the way of the business. So at the end of the day, it was either I walk away because I'm feeling a bit upset about the breakup, but that would ruin my career as well. So it's kind of like, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't just crack on, get on with it.
Did you think about what would happen if one of you met someone else? I imagine that would have been a big moment that would have changed it all.
It would have been, but I think it's one of those things. I mean, I'm sure we both dated in that time that we weren't together, but it was just a decision that we had to make, and you're suffering with it personally, but you've just got to leave it at the door, and outside of work you've got to be upset about it, and when you come back in you've just got to
So did the business did it affect the company in any way in terms of performance?
If anything, we worked harder. I think even when we were at when we were in our previous company, like we were so conscious about it affecting work that we worked harder. Like Ella became the top biller, because she was like, I've got to prove a point here, because if I dip. So, I would say that if you look at that period, we're still moving forward and doing pretty good. But, in the grand scheme of things, we got back together in quite a short period of time anyway. And
did you let the team know that they didn't know anything had happened?
No, they knew we broke up. I can't remember when it came out, but maybe it came out around sort of January time, because they just started to notice, I think, that it wasn't quite the same. So we just sort of told them, and they were great, really respectful about it, no issue. And then when we got back together, it sort of,
they were happy almost.
Yeah,
I bet they would be.
Yeah. They call us mum and dad, so for them it's like
literally.
Yeah.
So how did you get back? Was it just it just kind of naturally happened, or did you have a conversation?
We had a conversation. I think it was kind of, we just had a conversation about it, like over a few weeks, and sort of.
And and it's been better. Like you've worked at it, and it's been better.
So much better. Like I think we got all of our frustrations out the way and said what we needed to say. And since then it's just been, it sounds so lame, but it's like it has literally been the best sort of period of our relationship.
And you said you moved in together.
Yeah. So that was it's ages ago now. It's like 6 months ago, right?
November.
Oh, right. Feels like a lot longer.
Yeah,
but
that is
it's
like
been great.
4 or 5 months ago, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what impact has that had on again the relationship, but also work life?
I think before we broke up, we were actually really worried about the prospect of moving in together with how it would work with work. But as soon as we got back together and things were going really, really well, it just kind of was a natural thing that happened. And now that we're living together, actually, I think it's gone better than I could have ever hoped.
It's nice.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time together, obviously, but we know each other very well now. So we know when to be with each other and when to sort of not be with each other.
Yeah. But it's so weird. Like before, we'd be in the office. You're literally in the office, but you can't have a couple's conversation. And Ella'd be like, "Well, what are you doing later? Do you want to go for dinner?" And I'm kind of like, I'm in the office all day, and I don't know if I want to go for dinner. And then whereas now it's kind of, if Ella wants to go for a glass of wine or something after work with one of her mates, I'll be like, cool, well, I'll see you at home. And it's just it's so easy. It takes like that extra logistical thing when all you've done all day is like plan people's days and your own days out of the equation, which has been, for me, it's been great. Well, she could be a bit cleaner.
Really good to hear. I'm delighted for you. No, I'm genuinely like, I care a lot about like relationships outside of work, like as an entrepreneur as well. I've had loads of ups and downs in it, and I think I've always said that I didn't want that to be the reason I would ever break up. Like that, I wouldn't want that to be the reason. If anything else happened, I wouldn't want it to be the fact that it was just work. I mean, Tom, who was on the podcast last week, he was open that his first wife, like he sacrificed it for the business. So it's like you guys have got a unique opportunity because you're kind of both in it together, right? So it's a good thing, I think.
It is, and I think now we've kind of got all that sorted out. Like we go on holiday together, and we also go on holiday without each other. I'll go with my mates, she'll go with her mates. Like, and it's great.
So how has being a business owner affected your lives? Not necessarily relationships, but just in general, because you've gone from being a top biller. I'm sure you were very good at billing and made money anyway. How is it different now that you're 3 years on, you've got a business that's growing quite rapidly? How has your lives changed? Are you still eating tuna and rice?
Not anymore. Every now and again I have it just as like a little nostalgic thing. So
yeah,
it's good. You're going to the gym a lot.
Yeah,
love it. Good substance. Personally, I've never really. I think the first couple of years were really tough, but now I kind of experiences like this. They just really make you stronger, and you learn so much from them. And personally, it's great. And it's not even sort of it's so rewarding. Like every day, like seeing a trainee you've hired, like put another deal or an interview on the board and signing off their pace. I love that kind of stuff. I always enjoyed that. For as long as I've done this job, I always enjoyed managing and developing people, but a bit more than I enjoy the recruitment side. So I just get such a buzz out of it. Like when, I went back in the office today after we'd interviewed someone, and one of the staff was like, oh, I've just closed this and I've done that and I've done that. And I was just like, that's brilliant. I was just so excited for them, more than I get for my own
it's a better,
success.
better feeling when that happens.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
It was a bit of a change for me because I just billed at the company I used to work at. I'd never managed anyone in my life. So like now I've got a team of 5 or 6. it is a big change for me. And I think that's been the biggest learning curve actually in having the business. I feel like now I've got to a place where I've found what works for me. And, you know, we work with Tony Kokoza, who I know you know as well.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she's brilliant.
Big shout out again to Tony.
Yeah.
Hi, Tony. Love
Gets
you.
a lot of love on it.
Yeah. And, you know, she's really helped with that as well. And it's kind of, that was the most difficult bit. Now I feel that I'm on top of that. I think we're in a really good place, and it's allowed us to sort of I want to say, I don't think that much really changes, because you'd like to think that if you're a business owner and it was going well, you'd be spending your life doing other things, but we still go into the office pretty much 8 till 7 work, you know, not much.
It's cool. It's, you know, your thing.
Yeah.
I really annoy everyone on Monday, because I come in on Monday and I'm like buzzing, like, because I'm like, for me it's like, right, new week, and I've never had that before, and people are like, you're so annoying on Monday, you've got so much energy, and everyone else is just like, bleh. But I'm like, right, it's my job to get you lot going. But I love it. It's great.
I definitely had a Sunday night feeling when I was an employee.
Yeah,
I don't get anymore. That I just kind of, I don't know. I think a lot of entrepreneurs will share that you kind of switched on at a level that you can't really describe. Like, it's always in the back of your head, like all the time. And it's like, I'll message Amma at like 11 at night on WhatsApp, and I know he's reading it in bed while his missus is trying to sleep. I'm like, what about this idea? What about that? It's just, I can't turn it off.
Yeah.
I love it. What's the future look like for you guys? Like, where are you heading?
Well, we've gone from our 12-man office or 13-man, whatever it is. We're moving into a bigger one, the 24-man office, at the end of the month.
Sure.
Actually, yours is going out next week, so we're actually moving in next week. But we haven't told the guys yet. So
we basically want to move. We're going to get pizza in one night, drinks in one night, and me and Rich are just going to move everyone's computers.
Well, this goes out Wednesday, so you better do it before that.
Yeah,
it's Tuesday night, so hi guys, we would have already done it.
Yeah, hopefully, surprise.
But if anyone comments underneath this post that it's an underwhelming move, then that's not up to me.
But we stuff like that. We still get. We're going to stay. We're going to literally unplug everyone's computers. We're going to get it all moved up. So when they come into the old office, they're going to be like, oh, "We're in the new one." They're going to run upstairs, and we've got. Hopefully, it'll go down really well. But they might just be like, "Oh, whatever."
And apologies in advance for where you're sitting in the office, because office moves are always a bit contentious. But
planning that out. But we're moving into that. We've got, hopefully we're going to have 4 people starting at the end of March. Really excited about all 4 of them. I think all
so for the future, have you got any kind of long-term plans, like sell or growth or anything that's in your head that you want to achieve?
I think it's sustainable growth for us. So we're both quite considered people. We're not like massive risk takers. For us, it's about hiring people, but keeping what we've got as Park Avenue, because we have got a unique vibe and everyone gets on really well, and it's just trying to grow without losing that, and try and grow and make sure that everyone we hire gets the training that they need and the help and support that they need.
I think I'm trying to enjoy the journey a little bit with this. I think if I get too fixated on what I want out of the business and where I think I should be, you kind of lose track of it. And I think my dad always used to say, just enjoy the journey a bit. So I'm trying to do that, and I think that's what we've done.
I love that. I mean, first episode of this season, I interviewed John and Alex, who are from Liquid. They sold Liquid, and the one thing they said online and offline that, it's a bit underwhelming. It was amazing, but quite underwhelming when you do sell and leave. Like, you feel a bit empty. Like, your identity was wrapped up in that brand and that business and those people. And then when you step back, obviously they've got over it and they're doing great things now. But it is. I think it's so important to enjoy every day and not wish your life away.
Yeah. I mean, we're not growing a business to sell it. That's not our plan. Like, that was never what we wanted from the beginning. We're just, I mean, for me personally, I'm just kind of like, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So as Rich said, we're just enjoying it while we can. And
So if I could ask you, one of the final questions would be, what would you say to you if you could go back to January 2017 now and sit in front of yourselves? What advice would you give yourselves?
Everything will be all right. So I think I was just like a bit of a mad panic and sort of worrying about sort of the next 3 or 4 years. I had a point to prove as well because of the way I left. I had a bit of a point to prove, and I think I was so fixated on that. Whereas if I could go back now, I'd be like, you'll be fine.
Just concentrate.
Just enjoy. Just don't worry about anything. Just crack on.
Anything you'd say?
I think similar to be honest, but just have confidence in yourself and just, I think I'm a very indecisive person, and sometimes I just need to make a decision and commit to it. And I think that's what I struggled with early on. So I just say have more confidence in what you think, because you do take time over thinking about things, and just crack on, because you can only do your best at the end of the day.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes either, because we made we worried about making mistakes, and then we did other things, and that turned out to be a massive cock up. In reality, you're still here.
You get through it.
Yeah, you do, and you learn from it. So I don't think you have to. If you're going to start a business, you will make mistakes, and you have to be just accepting and just give everything a go.
Yeah, what's the worst that can happen? I think.
Yeah,
it's like,
what could?
Yeah.
I mean, what you did, you could have started a recruitment business, but
I still don't know why I did that.
But it's just mad, isn't it?
It is
mad.
I look back and what advice would I give myself?
Yeah, well, there you go. What would you?
I don't know. I think I'd say
I'll
to
interview
myself,
you for a bit.
I'd say trust your gut, because
that's great.
that was why I did it. My gut feeling said 2016, 2017, things are changing, and because I'd not billed as much for 2 years, I was probably more like you. Amma was more he was leading, but he was coming up the ranks because he'd only joined the company a couple of years before. So we'd had the same level of recruitment experience in age and stuff, but he'd done a load in education. And when we said, look, we're going to launch a company in the future, you can't have an education and an IT recruitment company. It doesn't work. So he was like, when we were leaving, he was like in the market, billing like $500,000. He was the man. And I was yesterday's man who was growing teams.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know if I want to pick up the phone to candidates and stuff. It didn't excite me. Something didn't excite me. But building brand and being out there and talking and educating, it just did. But my gut, that was my gut. My head was like, you're a fucking idiot. Stick to what you know. So I'd say keep, and I think it's always been the thing that has got me throughout the whole journey. I've constantly said, what does it say there?
It's a great piece of advice, because even recently we've been interviewing people to hire for this round, and whenever I've been like, I'm not sure, like Tony said it, a few others, even people in the office are like, Rich, just trust your gut.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, okay.
Yeah.
That's huge. It does work.
If there's any doubt, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I was told, and it's so true.
Yeah, it's just like, if we're not excited over something, what's the point? So if we meet someone, we're not excited about them, we're not excited about their future with us, what's the point?
Well, I've had interviews where I forgot about them. Like and then the rectorate rings me up, or the recruiter and goes like, how was it? And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, it was good. Yeah, it wasn't bad. They were okay. They were fine.
Who were they again?
Yeah, there was there was nothing wrong with these people. Like they just, I didn't get excited and I forgot, which is.
Yeah.
But when you know you like someone, it's like I've got to get them into this company.
Yeah, we've had a few like that. A lot. I would say pretty much all the staff that we've got working for us now, we were really excited. We were like ringing the rectorate, like, do they accept the offer? Like, are they going to come and work for us? And unless we kind of feel that now with people, we've just got to be a bit. Not like hiring for numbers' sake.
That is on your, and again, probably the last thing is that when you're hiring, it's your money.
Yeah.
You make it I've done it. I made loads of mistakes, and you got to do it, as you say. But it is your money. Like every penny you spend on bad hires is money you could be investing elsewhere.
And I think when we were smaller, we were there's a bit more of us to give. You're in a 5-man office at the time, and you can give so much attention. But now we're growing. To a certain degree, as much as you would love to, you can't give as much time and energy to every single person like you used to. So you do need to think about the type of person that you bring in at, a slightly bigger headcount than you would do originally. So that's something we've learned this round, definitely, which we've tried to implement.
Well, guys, we're out of time. Thank you so much.
Blown by.
Goes quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have, and I would like to. I'm pretty sure the audience will. There'll be a lot of people out there that are in a similar situation. You'd be surprised how many relationships are probably in agencies now going, could we set up together? Like, it makes sense. Like, and I hope, do you know what? Would you be open for any of them to reach out and ask you questions?
Definitely. We've got a lot of advice to give there.
Yeah, but even if it's just anyone who's looking to start, like, you guys have been super honest, super open. What I love about you guys is you're in the same mode as me, where you're not like the brand new startup, but you're still in that mode where everything's fresh. You remember everything. So
big time.
There's so much advice you can really practically give. So thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. Guys, that's another episode of The Rag. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I would like to ask you guys to get active online. Share your thoughts. If you're liking this podcast, get it out to your network on LinkedIn, share via WhatsApp message, whatever you're using. Let other recruiters and other owners know, because the more people listen, the more we can help and the industry stronger together. Also on the iTunes store, I'm seeing more and more reviews and ratings now. Apple will push us higher and higher and further. So please be kind, get on there as well. I'll be back again next Wednesday with another unique story of growth. I'll see you then.